All right, what's going on, guys? So today I'm gonna go over a common question that I've been getting lately on how to schedule out your training, your skills training, and your strength and conditioning to make sure that you're getting the best of both worlds. We're increasing performance, and again, we're mitigating the risk of overtraining and overall fatigue. So I'm gonna go over the scheduled out approach that you can do. You have to make sure first and foremost that you have a system in place. So you wanna prioritize the focus. So whether that be skills training or physical attributes, right? Strength, power, speed, endurance, etc. We gotta make sure that we're getting to that first and foremost in the day so that you're fresh and that you can work on it and get the adaptations necessary. So when you look at from a hierarchy of an importance standpoint, from off camp, the goal is to get better from an overall perspective. So if you do need more strength, if you do need more power production, if you do need more mobility and just overall athleticism, now's the time where you want to put that focus on. So when you're off camp, you want to build upon your physical attributes. Now, getting into camp, we want to hone in on our skills. We want to hone in on the technical efficiency and the game plan. So when you're looking at it from that top-down approach or bottoms-up approach, you want to go GPP first, then SPP, then we work into fight-orientated specific positions and overall time frames, right? So this is going to be from off camp all the way into camp and going into the fight itself. All right, so you want to make sure that you have systems over the end goal. A lot of people want that instant gratification. I know you want to get to that goal, you want to accomplish that win, but the main thing that we have to look at is the system that's going to get us there first and foremost. If you just focus on that, everything else will take care of itself. So you want to make sure that you have a structured strategy. We want to make sure that we have tactics in line with that strategy to allow us to keep moving forward and progress accordingly. All right, so I'm gonna go over off camp and in camp. I'll give you a breakdown for off camp and then another breakdown for in camp. So off camp, again, we're looking to enhance technical efficiency, technical training. So that's what we're gonna be working there. You're also gonna be working on general strength qualities, right? We wanna work on our rate limiting factors from a conditioning standpoint. Whether you are delivery, utilization, or respiratory deficient, we wanna make sure that we're working that and you will utilize testing to allow you to do that. Now, you don't have to go crazy on it. For the most part, you want to look at one, your VO2 max. You want to look at your lactate threshold. If those things are subpar, then we know we need to build that up. Now, the main thing that we're going to be looking to help build that up is building an aerobic capacity, right? Building your ability to take in oxygen and let off CO2, and then also being able to utilize that oxygen efficiently. So we're gonna be working primarily in lower ranges or lower zones of heart rate because that's gonna maximize cardiac output, that's gonna maximize mitochondrial density. It's just gonna give you a bigger engine, right? So we're gonna work that, and we're gonna work strength and conditioning a little bit more frequently than we will in camp, right? So you're gonna do 3 to maybe even 4 training sessions for strength and conditioning because this is the time where you want to build that solid base of strength and overall endurance. All right, now getting into camp, the focus shifts to skill-specific training because again, you're looking at specificity of the sport. We need to make sure that we're getting in there, whether it be boxing, MMA, judo, wrestling. You need to get on the mats, you need to get in the cage or in the ring, and you need to spar, you need to drill, and you need to do this with live goes. Okay, so strength and power. So we're gonna work strength and we're gonna work on explosive power, but we're also gonna work on the ability to produce power for a long duration, right? Power endurance. So the game plan, specific conditioning, is gonna be repeated efforts, right? We're gonna make sure that we're utilizing all of that big aerobic engine that we built up in the off camp, and then we're gonna structure it closer to the fight and work on the game plan and work on the time domains of that particular fight, whether it be a 5x5, a 5x3, a 3x3, all of that goes in the tail. So you gotta make sure if you're a coach, if you're an athlete, you take that into account and you work on the specific time domains and the endurance features that you're gonna need for that fight. All right, so now when it comes down to structuring out your days and your weeks, I like to consolidate the stresses. So I use a high-low method of approach. Again, a lot of times it's gonna be hard because you're doing multiple things throughout that day, right? You're probably gonna be training 2, maybe 3 times a day. So we wanna make sure that we keep the high days very high intensities wise, and we wanna keep the low days very low intensity. We don't want to, go one high day or one high training session and then a low training session on a high day. We wanna make sure we're keeping that all together so that the next day you can recover with lower intensity training sessions and still keep progressions going. All right, so usually it'll look like Monday will be a lower effort day, Tuesday would be high, Wednesday would be a medium to low intensity day, then Thursday you're gonna go back to a high intensity day, Friday a low intensity day, Saturday would be a medium to high day, and then Sunday would be off. Now, these can change depending upon your schedule, depending upon your team and what you wanna do there, but just know if you're gonna have a higher intensity training session or a combined amount of training sessions throughout that day, make sure that the next day is a little bit less intense so that your body can recover for each training session going forward. All right. So when we're talking about off camp, now off camp preparations, again, like I said, we want to build that base. So you're looking at around 16 to 9 weeks out right before you start your camp. The focus is going to be, like I said, build a base. So Mondays, we're gonna go off of that consolidation of stresses, low intensity day. In the AM, we're gonna do some aerobic capacity training, something like long slow distance running or tempo runs. You don't have to run, you can do things like biking or cycling, you can do things like rowing, but you just wanna get into that heart rate range, zone 2, or you can go 180 minus your age for mathatone running, and that's what we've been using very successfully, and also my own training for the triathlon. So again, definitely does help. So AM is gonna be aerobic capacity, PM is gonna be technical drilling. Now, again, technical drilling, very low intense, keeping the heart rate in that lower zone, but you're working on your technique, you're working on your efficiency from a skills training perspective, all right? Tuesday, now we're gonna ramp it up. We're gonna go high intensity. So in the AM, you're gonna do some type of strength and conditioning. Now, with the strength training, that's gonna be more from a general strength approach. So you're gonna be doing GPP type movements, right? And you can check out some of my videos on GPP and how you can utilize it for your off-camp training. Link is probably somewhere there, but just go ahead and go back into the videos, you can check it out. Now, with that being said, on the PM side, we want to go ahead and do technical work, and we want to do some type of live goes. So we want to work on our technique, and then we want to do it with a live preparation. So again, you can, depending on what you're doing, whether it be MMA, boxing, whatever, go ahead and do your technique and then test it, right, with your training partner. And that's going to be live, and you're going to have to get some resistance too as well. So that's what's going to increase the intensity there. All right. Now, if you see all this, you can tell that I'm backloading the skills work to after your strength and conditioning or just your aerobic training. And that's because our focus right now is to get our body back fit in order for us to do the work ahead. Now, if you are a beginner, we still want to work on this particular side of the aspects of training because of the fact that you want to get you in shape to actually learn and do the skills ahead. When you're doing your skills training though, however, you don't want to go max effort, right? We want to make sure that we're learning and we're getting the process honed in and learnt appropriately without being overtrained or overly excited. Because again, you want to make sure that you have competence inside that technical aspect of the training, okay? So going back to it, Wednesday, medium intensity, right? So AM is gonna be aerobic power. So now we're gonna push it a little bit higher on the aerobic side. Again, you're gonna be about 65% of your maximal heart rate. And then on the PM, you're gonna go drilling and then some mobility work too as well, all right? Thursday, we're going back to high intensity. So AM is gonna be strength and conditioning, okay? Higher intensities on that strength and conditioning side. So again, you're working in 5 to even 6 rep ranges. This is more for a strength endurance standpoint. What I mean by strength endurance is anything higher than 3 reps, anything lower than 85%. Okay, so make sure that you understand the difference between strength endurance and muscular endurance. Muscular endurance would be somewhere around 15 to 30 repetitions, where this one's gonna be more strength orientated. All right, so you're building that general base of strength. PM, again, technical drilling and live goes like I talked about before. Friday is gonna be another low intensity day. AM, we're gonna go back to aerobic capacity because this is gonna be more from a restorative effort. So stay in zone 2. You wanna keep your heart rate fairly low. You want to be able to keep a conversation going as you're doing it and keep the volume adequately high. So you're looking at 30, maybe 45 to up to 60 minutes, depending on your overall conditioning, okay? Saturday is gonna be a medium to high day. So this in the AM, we're gonna be doing more strength and conditioning from a higher intensity standpoint, and then your live goes are gonna be at night. But again, we're gonna keep those live goes to, I would say medium intensity. So nothing higher than your threshold, okay? And then Sunday, I always like to give the guys off or do some active recovery or just spend time with the family, all right? Now on to in-camp. All right, guys, so before I go into the in-camp stuff, I go into deeper detail on my mentorship program. Link is in the description if you wanna find out more details on that. But let's go into it. The focus points for in-camp training, you're looking at around 8 to 6 weeks out, and then going into fight week, right? So usually a fighter will start a fight camp at about 8 to 6 weeks out usually. So we want to go ahead and preface the fact that yes, we're going to be working on an in-camp strategy 8 weeks out primarily. So the focus is going to be skills training, game planning, and then maximal effort and dynamic effort, the specific time frames and the speed of that sport. Okay, so we're gonna be maximizing our efficiency from a strength perspective. We're increasing our dynamic effort, so we're increasing our dynamic speed and overall power production, and then we're working on the game plan and other skills that are going to orientate into that game plan. So Monday, all right, low intensity. The reason why I do a low intensity day is because we want to make sure that we're honing in on our skills that day and give us the best opportunity to better ourselves from a technical standpoint. All right, so AM is going to be skills training. It's going to be technical drilling. A lot of times when you go into MMA teams, they're going to do their wrestling on that day. So this may end up turning into a higher day, which is fine. But you got to make sure you take that into account. That may be the only training session they can do that day, and you'll have to auto-regulate that accordingly. Now, I'll go into detail on auto-regulation in my mentorship program, so go ahead and check that out. Now, AM, skills training. PM, we're going to do some aerobic or delivery training, oxygen delivery training, so something lower intensity, zone 2 to marathoon running even, but we want to make sure that we're staying away from those higher lactate zones, all right? Tuesday is going to be higher intensity, so AM, they're going to go ahead and get after it in sparring. PM is going to be strength and conditioning, working on maximal effort, dynamic effort, and I use my condensed conjugate model on that. So if you want to find out more details, I did some videos on that too as well. All right, recovery. Again, I like to do contrast bath. I just put out a video on recovery methods, so go back to that and you can see some recovery methods that I'll use on these higher intensity days inside of camp. All right, Wednesday is going to be a medium to low day again. AM is going to be skills training, technical drilling, and live goes. All right, PM, we're going to go into technique, and you're gonna do some aerobic power. So because of your in-camp preparation, you're gonna be doing 2 skills training sessions if you're not having strength and conditioning on the PM side, okay? Thursdays is gonna be back to high intensity, and they're going for their day 2 of sparring. And again, strength and conditioning, working maximal effort, dynamic effort for the condensed conjugate. Friday is going to be lower intensity again. The AM work is going to be technique driven. They're going to do some live goes, but not as highly intense. We're going to keep it lower intense on the live goes and not as much resistance in a sense. So you want to make sure that you're getting good training partners to allow you to do that. All right. PM is going to be aerobic capacity for restorative work. And then you can also do some type of recovery method as well, some soft tissue release, whatever have you. And then Saturday, you're gonna get back after it with medium to high intensity. So the AM is gonna be technical sparring. That's why it's somewhat of a medium to high, right? So technical sparring, working on your game plan, working on things that you wanna work on that you're gonna do inside of your fight. So whether that be takedown defense, whether that be, you know, elongating your jab, whatever the case may be, right? Now PM is gonna be strength and conditioning, and that's gonna be dynamic effort only. So we're gonna do dynamic effort, we're gonna do explosive power, we're gonna do repeated power efforts, and we're gonna also do some mobility too as well at the end. All right, now Sunday, they have their choice. It could be active recovery, or you can take the day completely off. It really just depends on that individual. Now, I didn't say this before, but you also want to look at subjective and objective indicators. Okay, so subjective and objective indicators. The main subjective indicator is going to be rate of perceived exertion. All right, so RPE. All right, so rate of perceived exertion is how hard was the training session beforehand, if you want to go into training sessions, but also how they are actually feeling from a 1 to 10. If they're anywhere from a stress level higher than 8, then you want to make sure that they're taking that day completely off. If they're a 6, then they can do some active recovery. A 7, again, some active recovery, maybe just a walk in general, but you want to get blood flow. You want to drive nutrients to the tired or sore tissue. So objective indicators are going to be something like heart rate variability or resting heart rate. Now, heart rate variability is going to give you an understanding of where your body is from parasympathetic to a sympathetic response. If you're highly sympathetic, very stressed out, it's going to tell you that, and then you have to back off on that day. Resting heart rate, if you have a baseline of a resting heart rate sitting at, let's say, for instance, one of my guys who is very highly conditioned, especially in camp, you're sitting around a 35 beats per minute. You guys can probably guess who that is, but 35 beats per minute. Now, if that jumps up at least 7 beats on that given day, then I know that he is in somewhat of an overtraining state, or at least he's overreached, and we got to make sure we're taking that day off and he's getting less stress buildup. He's actually bringing down his stress and increasing his parasympathetic response. Okay, so you can use those there. Again, this is what we would do inside of camp. Going into the fight week, again, you're looking at the weight cut and everything else that would do come into play. So then the volume of training goes down, the frequency of your strength and conditioning goes way down, but the skills training stays there and the intensity of the skills training actually increases. So again, sport specificity, getting closer to the fight itself. If you want to find out more details, again, mentorship, and also if you want to train and work on these specifics that I put together here from an in-camp, off-camp perspective. I have an off-camp program, Fight Dominance. I have an in-camp program. I have Fight Ready, Heavy Hitter, and Ground Control, Jiu-Jitsu, Boxing, and MMA. You can get it down, link in the description now. That's the video. Hope you like it. If you want to see more from a series perspective, hit the comments down below. And also, if you want me to do a Patreon account where I go into deeper detail, go ahead, let me know, comments down below. I'll see you again next time. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification, hit the like button. Peace.